So we have a panel before the coffee break. Again, please explore the venue. The venue is absolutely amazing. The backdrop here in Croatia is absolutely spectacular. Next to the stage, we have a panel discussion talking about the future of music in the Web3 space. If you guys are sleeping on the music within the decentralized space and platforms, don't, because I think the evolution is right here, right now with music. I'm working with a lot of artists. A lot of my friends in the industry are working with a lot of artists. NFTs, royalties, rights, music, there's a lot of topics here. So I look forward to listening to this next panel. Please put your hands together for Sergio Matala, who is our moderator.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Hello.
Are we all here? Cool.
What a crowd.
Yeah, I mean, someone should bring some more people in. So, welcome, everyone. I'm Sergio, founder of Public Pressure. I mean, I'm set up as a moderator, but not really a moderator, because what we're going to try to do is tell you the story of the project and the company that we're building by having pretty much everyone which is involved, like telling part of the story. So instead of running a long pitch, I thought it would have been nicer to meet the people and have a sort of conversation. So I'm going to maybe start by letting everyone spend really a few seconds introducing themselves. Maybe I'm going to start from my right, from Mark, and then Charlie, then Paul, and then Joe.
Hi, good morning. I'm Mark. I am the portfolio manager for Sidetail Horizon 2, and we're VC investing in early stage projects, companies, protocols, largely around the .SAMA ecosystem, but we're kind of agnostic.
Charlie?
Sorry. My name is Charlie Rapino, music business veteran, I would say.
I would say what? Producer.
Veteran. I've been
Cool.
long in the tooth in the business.
Paul?
Hi, my name is Paul. I live in Italy and work out of Italy, and I'm a music business guy.
Hi everyone, I'm Joe, Cremont, my stage name. I'm part of the duo Merck and Cremont. We are music producers and DJs.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. I appreciate everyone being here. So, Public Pressure is, I'm Sergio. I'm Italian. I mean, you might understand that from the accent. I mean, if you need any help to understand me, Google Translate is going to really help you, I'm pretty sure. And, I mean, the feeling is really that you have all the parts of the company. I mean, we are a music NFT ecosystem, marketplace, pretty much ready to launch. We are sitting on and building on the Polkadot ecosystem, Kusama ecosystem on Moon River as a start for the project. And the idea this morning was to give you a perspective from pretty much all the angles that we have in the team. So we have Mark, which is our lead investor, Charlie, who I think you understood has been a producer for over 30 years. Paul, who has a great experience in managing artists, and that's what he has been doing for, again, I think over 30 years. And then we also have an artistic presence. So what we're going to try to convey is really the angle of music, web3, NFTs, how the industry is looking at the trend. So I'm going to just spend a few words telling you a little bit more about the project before asking a few questions around. So about me, I've been in crypto since 2015, 2016, pretty much. I had the pleasure to be a regulator as well, because I worked for a few years in a small country in Italy, which is called the Republic of San Marino, and I headed the whole project about blockchain legislation. I mean, the angle was we want to develop economy and ecosystem, so we took the legislative path as a way to increment the economic turnover of companies being attracted. So I really spent, until 2020 discussing with institutions around the world what's the angle on digital assets, how we're going to regulate. I travel, I met a lot of companies in a lot of projects, because in my understanding, when you want to regulate an industry, you tend to be asked into meetings quite a bit. Then I got back into the private sector in 2020, because I think my DNA is about building companies and building businesses. And that's where I started pushing the word NFT. I think it was mid to 20 and to 20 when really the NFT market was picking up into the other into the other three founders, which are Giulia Maresca, Francesca Versace, who really comes from the fashion, trend-setting, design, creative industry, and Alfredo Violante, who actually founded Public Pressure initially as a blog, as a sort of decentralized label. So from 2015, he has been talking to artists, talking to labels, and the whole goal was, with streaming, we lost the format. So when we brought on the table the word NFT and Web3, he started to get really excited, because the idea was that this music format that has been lost, because obviously no one is buying music, everyone is consuming music, it was a super opportunity. And that's how somehow the team came together. We looked at the NFT market, and we were arguing that we could have done a lot more in terms of art, design, collaboration with visual artists, with movie producer, and obviously with the music industry, which was somehow the queen in the room when we do our NFTs. And that's pretty much the story. We got together, we found the Public Pressure, and then the first thing we have done is running around the music industry and talking with people like Charlie, talking with people like Paul, and say, what do you think? We're going to do music and NFT. We believe that is going to be the future where the industry is growing. And they got excited, so they joined the team. Then, obviously, we went through the private sale, and that's when we met Mark, and we started explaining the vision, and he decided to come on board. So that's pretty much the story. So now, with a few questions, we're going to try to deepen into a few subjects. If you don't mind, Paul, I'm going to start from you. I'll be curious if you maybe can explain the crowd what got you excited about NFT. When we called you up, we had the first meeting, and we started with our vision that all the music industry is not going to be as it is today, but it's going to move in a different world. And we felt that you really liked the vision.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be part of Public Pressure. As a music business person, but somebody who's driven by passion for music, first of all, I can't not be interested in the relationship between music and art in general, in technology. To start from a long way off, consider the fact that Mozart never in his life heard a recording of a Mozart symphony or quartet or opera. And the relationship between technology and music has always been exciting and has always forged new paths for business and, above all, for creativity. At the beginning of recorded music, You remember the cylinders, the first records. There was a huge reaction, conservative reaction against it. A lot of musicians thought it was diabolical that people should be able to listen to music without seeing and watching the musicians perform. Fast forward to the 80s, MTV, the music video. It's maybe the younger members of the crowd won't remember. The older members may remember that there was a huge conservative reaction by 70s music giants against the video clip. How awful that people should be consuming music, watching musicians lip sync and not really singing and pretending to be singing. This is awful. It is the death of music. And so on and so forth, so on and so forth. The NFT, for me, represents a challenge to be creative and a challenge to find new economic paths, new ways of helping the musicians that I represent and work with and the musicians that I'll be talking to as somebody who collaborates and is a partner of Public Pressure to exploit their music and be creative and to think of new art forms. Because, do you want me to shut up now? It's enough? So you'll kick me if I'm waffling. So look at it this way. Music is often at the service of visual images, a soundtrack. Visual images are at the service of music, a video clip. But there are some forms where music and the visual aspect have equal weight in the product. The musical, opera. And I think the NFT may provide an opportunity for 30-second, so modern durations, because few of us have the time and energy to sit through a Wagner opera these days, of something where music and visual image have similar, equal, specific weight in the artistic product. This is one of the reasons, one of the many reasons why I'm happy to be part of this project and fascinated.
Super interesting. And I'm going to build it with you, Joe. I mean, I've been working in my investor deck in the last 2 weeks, and every time I look at industry reports, the angle is always the same. Streaming is booming, streaming is a fantastic industry, but somehow only the top-tier artists are really making money. Most of the streaming businesses, emerging artists, new artists, whoever is approaching is actually struggling. So I would like to hear your angle on this, how you feel as an artist.
Yeah. So in order to answer that question, we need to focus on one of the biggest disruption in the music industry, at least in the recent year, which is the invention of the MP3. The MP3 is an algorithm that basically transforms your waveform, your digital song, into a smaller version of it. And that allowed music platform to basically stream music for very cheap, and consumer really benefit from it, because now you spend just a little bit of your money and you can get access to all the music in the world. But I think the artists suffer the most, because the music business model in a new way, basically you add the artist, then the labels, and then the consumers, and now you have artists, labels, music platforms, and consumers. So consumers, as we saw, really benefit from it. Spotify, the music platform, took a huge stake out of the music industry. And the labels still had the bargaining power to just basically make the artist suffer. So we need a system, I think, that can be more fair to the artist and can be more transparent, and maybe, possibly, a way to make the artists upload their own music on their platforms and get all the money out of it.
So somehow we could say that Web3 NFTs could be seen as that opportunity, from
I
the
think so.
industry.
I mean, there's another conflict that it's very interesting, and it's the conflict between the globalism and the nationalism. So we have regulators that are national. So we have different copyright systems all over the world, but we're living in an environment that is very international. So we listen to music that is made in US on a Chinese platform, But what we are missing is a system that is international and is decentralized. So I hope for the future the NFTs and all the blockchain system will help the artists to just get what they deserve.
That's great. I mean, I don't know you guys, but I'm like getting excited and realizing that sometimes when you build tech, you tend to be isolated. I mean, that's what I've been in innovation for 15 years, and you see how exciting it is what we pull together and how honored we are with somehow having the opportunity to build the value proposition of a business with people that comes from the industry that somehow we're trying to disrupt. Now I'm going to come to you, Charlie.
Yeah.
Are you tired today?
No, I'm okay.
You had a bad trip last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, a bit of an adventure.
It's okay.
Life is an adventure, after all.
You are one of the team which is mostly advocating like the idea that music is going to be released in NFTs format. So instead of, an artist, instead of pushing an album on traditional, it's going to just look at Web3 and NFTs as somehow like the main route of distribution. So I'd like you to...
That's my opinion, really.
And that links a little bit to what had just been said on the royalty-bearing system, the decentralization. So I'd love
it is obvious that after the disruption, the first disruption of the MP3s and in particular Napster, who really became Spotify at the end, there was a foundation of the music business. There was a new economy, without a doubt, which has penalized not just the artists, but the people who work with the artists. I'm talking like people like my friend over there, that they can't make enough money. Huh? No, I remember your name, don't worry. I'm talking about Paul.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the writers, the producers who were working with the artists, who today see peanuts out of a top 10 chart hit or whatever. Since I'm a very curious person, I thought, if I'm an artist and I own my own masters, and I am probably an established artist, why should I give away my masters for a very small percentage to the DSPs, while I can retain ownership of it together with the consumer or the listener with an NFT? I would make more money, and I'd be owner of my own catalog again. Today, an artist's work, it's not owned by the artist, it's owned by the distribution chain, in this case, Spotify, Apple, whatever it is, which obviously are in a system that it's not economically rewarding for an artist or a musician or a singer, whatever. That's as simple as that. I could see that economy very, very viable, but that's my opinion, because in reality, who knows? Who knows what's it going to be?
So somehow you are a young artist, and in the future you imagine that you have a decentralized infrastructure on blockchain that is going to be able to manage all the royalties, all the rights of your own masters, and if you push
yes,
them...
it's back to the early days of the music industry. I mean, today, obviously, a band like the Stooges, if it was around today, couldn't make any money. They had to have side jobs, like serving in a bar or something like that, because at the time, those bands, a band like Suicide, which I knew very well, Alan Vega, was pretty much, they could sustain themselves, because obviously they were owning their own masters, they were selling 40,000 records around the world, they were making probably $100,000 out of it. They could make a nice living. Today, you can't have 40,000 copies sold. You know, that 40,000 copies sold is probably, by being optimistic, 4 million streams. And with 4 million streams, you don't make a lot of money, if you're an artist, obviously. So basically NFT could changes everything, so nothing can change, which is back to those days, most likely.
I like that quote.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you on there, and then we're going to get back to it, but I like that quote.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. It's not my quote. It's the leopard by, yeah, you know it. So there you go. That's where I see or where I think this could end. Having said so, who knows? Because there's even that part of.
That's what we're working for. So let's see whether we get there.
Well, but in every technological aspect, is that curiosity, isn't it? Who knows? I don't know. Frank Zappa used to say that. You know, Frank Zappa was notorious to say, I don't know if it's going to work or not. And that's that primal entrepreneurial thing. I'm sorry, I talk too much.
I'm going to pick you up later. No,
Okay.
I want to talk a bit of tech, because otherwise we
Yeah,
talk
that's
music.
okay. I'm sorry, it was boring.
I'm going to maybe now speak a little bit with Mark. Mark,
Sorry.
when we started thinking about tech, obviously, as a business, we first built a relationship with the industry. We wanted to make sure that if we say we're going to bring music in NFTs and web3, we would have been able to do that. And then we started thinking, where do we build the marketplace? Now, what's the most vibrant ecosystem? And we engage a few foundation, a few blockchain, and then through you, we somehow discovered part of the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem that we really didn't know. So, I know you're basically looking at Polkadot as a sort of master in this time of blockchain. So we'd love to hear your view on Polkadot and Kusama, and how you see, I don't know, that ecosystem moving towards.
Thank you. Yes, we are mostly focused on the Polkadot ecosystem. We are in a fortunate position to be close to the Web3 Foundation and the founder of Polkadot himself, who is an advisor for our first fund and is an advisor and a lead investor in our second fund. We are not married to the Polkadot ecosystem. We think that they're building the most viable tech, and they probably have the worst marketing. And we like that together with each other in some way. Because their job isn't really to be marketing. Their job is to build the tech and bring developers in and have the developers build out other tech, and then have companies or teams market their own products. And that's what we see happening. It takes longer than everyone likes. That's life with bleeding edge technology. It's really important that it has to work. And we'll see some things soon with the advent of XCM, which is, I think it was originally cross-chain messaging, then cross-consensus messaging. Now it's called parachain messaging. It's called XCM, and it's a way for separate blockchains to actually transact directly with each other without having to deal with bridges. And that opens up a whole new possibility for anyone within the ecosystem, anyone bridging into the ecosystem. So that's where we see the real use, because it's from the guy that technically led the team to develop Ethereum. He wrote the yellow paper. He created EVM, and there's still, even today, there's still tens of billions of value built on EVM, and he saw what was right with it and what wasn't working so well. So we see there's upgrades happening all the time, hot upgrades, there's no forks. It was slower than I would have liked and that many would have liked, but the technology is working and it's not breaking. And this is really important because there are bigger market cap as of today chains that go down for hours and days, and it keeps happening. And this is not really viable going forward as we get real world connections and use cases that are happening. It can't go down. It has to be robust. It has to be secure. And that's what we see building on Polkadot. But we had the conversation in the early days where you had a very nice grant from a foundation that will remain nameless, where we said, well, we can't match that. And it's a lot of money, so maybe you should go for it. We think it's in 3 years from now when it'll be less viable because it's a closed ecosystem. It's not decentralized. Whereas where we're going is much more decentralized and open and vibrant and, very importantly, growing ecosystem. So if it makes sense, let's do something together. And you looked at it and you decided it makes sense, and I'm very happy about that. Because when I was looking at the business, I'm not a music industry expert. I'm not an NFT expert. What I was good at was partnering with founders and working with them to fill the holes in their kind of puzzle to give them the best chance of success going forward. With the good result is that in Fund 2, 3 of the founding teams have invested as LPs in our fund because they know that nobody heard of us probably here, and that's okay. We're happy to operate behind the scenes and just really partner with the teams and partner with our limited partners as well as a real positive sum relationship. We were introduced to Sergio from one of our LPs, and he said, I know this guy, he's a good guy, and he's building something, I think you should have a look. And I think we spoke for at least 2 months or 3 months before we even came to a place of being ready to lead the seed round and then, bring other value-added investors in.
Yeah, that has been great, actually. I think it's one of the best decisions that we've done is to follow on your lead.
It's early days, but we'll get there.
I know, but I've been around for a little while. I'm now one of the youngest founder that you can meet. And to be honest, I got to a point where I believe that people makes the difference. Now we can have all the value proposition of the world, all the great tech, but if you don't have great people in the execution, somehow you're gonna stop. And what I realized, my bet was from whoever introduced us, they were all great people. And we bet that also the ecosystem it would have been made by great people, and that's what we discovered it works. Some of the best thing about, I think, the Kusama and Polka ecosystem is the collaboration. Like within a week, we started getting chats together with the foundation, together with the tech team. We started figuring out together how we could integrate pieces that were building by other projects. And it's all about strategic collaboration to get closer, to get quicker to the objective. And that is fantastic. I've been dealing with other ecosystems, and that has been the main driver, if you want, for deciding on that direction. Like over there, we maybe, as you said, have a little bit less money on the table, but we got some of the rock stars in the industry. So I think the people is the driver for deciding. So I appreciate that. Thanks, Mark. So I'm gonna go back on you, Joe. And I'm really curious to touch another important subject, which is community. I think that NFTs are also a sort of very interesting way for artists to strengthen their relationship with their communities. But going back to what we discussed, it's a little bit about inverting the industry. Like you've got to go back to ownership. Like we are in an environment where people are used to pay, a membership in Spotify or Apple Music and just consume. While with NFTs, you're gonna need to get them to buy stuff and collect. So how you see this transition especially from an artistic perspective?
Yeah, we're going back to the idea of owning music, and you can see that because the vinyl sales just grew like in the recent years. And I think the very idea of owning the music has always been there. We just kind of forgot how it was because the music platform made it so easy for us to just consume music. And when you say consume music, you just literally listen and devour hours of new music, and sometimes you even get lost. And that's really a problem because I just found out that when you listen too much on Spotify, new music, you just kind of lose the idea of finding new music that it's yours. because the music is for everybody now. And so I think we need to get back to the idea of exclusivity. So when you own like your own music, it's just you. And I think an NFT is basically a digital version of a vinyl in a way, because that could be something that it's only you and some other people. And that really strengthens the community idea. And I think in the future, we as artists will have like a direct contact with our community, and we will speak to them through social, and also like we will just give them the music, and they will own it. And that's a very interesting phenomenon, and I think I'm really excited about it.
Paul, anything to add here? I mean, thinking about all the artists that you manage and getting into this community, strengthening relationship, anything more?
I'm looking forward to... Is this on?
It's on.
I'm looking forward to a glorious future. It's very much at an exploratory phase, because I don't want to bore everybody, but the rights that are involved in a music recording can be extremely complicated. And I'm looking forward to the idea that this technology can help simplify the way the money flows at a very basic level, cut out the middleman, disintermediate, and I think that could be very, very, very healthy. I also thoroughly endorse Joe's vision of an artist becoming an artist and talking to a fan base that appreciates what the artist does, as opposed to kind of bland playlist listening. Because music is always a sociological phenomenon, and last but not least, because we're music business people, Giordano, Charlie, and myself, I just have to say, put your hands up for public pressure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Then, I mean, guys, just to level the profile. I mean, Paul, maybe it's a name that you know, but he is, I think, most famous artist is Benny Benassi, who is at the Eurovision in these days. So, I mean, he's someone who has been really dealing deeply for many years in the music industry. I've seen Charlie produced back in the days. I used to have, I mean, as well, the poster in my room, Robbie Williams, the Take That. So for our perspective, having this contribution coming in, it's great, because if people with this experience believe that trend is interesting, I mean, I think that we are up to something really, really, really interesting. And Charlie, do you want to add anything on collection, NFTs, community?
Well, it was pretty natural for people like me and like myself and Paul, because, excuse my French, we were probably the first ones who got fucked by the disruption in the first place. So, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it is.
Like lepers at that point, because the creative side of the industry with that system was completely killed off, and record labels were at some point run by, with due respect obviously, by marketing guys and finance people, or more than finance people, account people, who were literally...
You lost the product, right? It's not anymore about the product.
Yeah, it wasn't anymore about the product, it was about how many numbers, what was the figure really, and it sort of took out the spice of the business, apart from taking, obviously, a good slice of the business from people like Paul and myself. So it was, I think, pretty natural for the so-called old school type of guys to embrace this sort of concept, I would call it. Modern technology is a concept, which makes it very interesting. It's a new concept, it's a new idea.
Love it. How are we doing with time? Sorry, I don't know when we are supposed to...
There's a watch there, but there's a clock, but it's been placed strategically.
We still have 9 minutes,
yeah.
so plenty of time to get on with the conversation. I maybe go back with Mark on a topic which I'm interested to discuss. What about the the metaverse from an investment perspective. I sometimes sit down and think it's one of the most, I don't know, difficult angles, because I mean, either you create a virtual reality, so you replicate what's going on in the real world, or either we've seen projects like Odyssey going in a completely different direction. I was blown away when I saw the virtual representation of a blockchain with the nodes and the interaction. That is something that you can't visualize. So do you have a vision on how that one is going to work?
So this is really interesting, and it's not easy because it's forward-looking. You know, when we see new things, we try to compare it to old things and the way it worked before. And I can speak from personal experience being an early power user of Google and Gmail. I never imagined that this would be one of the most valuable companies in the world. Same thing with Facebook. It was a nice social media, but then it became one of the most valuable companies in the world again. And I think Metaverse is also in this direction. So we try to put previous paradigms onto a new thing where they don't make sense. So the first big use case for Metaverse is land sales. And people say, okay, if I'm close to this place, then my land is going to be worth more. But Metaverse land and real land are not even nearly the same. They have some similar components insofar as, more traffic, but more foot traffic equals, generally speaking, higher real estate values. And more eyeballs in Metaverse, more attention, equals, again, higher values, but there's no spatial connection because you could just teleport around everywhere and go from one to the other. So Metaverse, I think, will be valuable and extremely valuable because it will allow new sorts of businesses or business cases to arise where that wasn't possible before. And you mentioned the Odyssey, which we also invested with and partnered with. They a Metaverse coming out of a hackathon. And so it was in-person hackathon, which COVID stopped. And they had the idea to virtualize it and then decentralize it. And so it starts off as a sort of decentralized co-work or co-hack space that companies are using, and now it's evolving to be a place where gamers will go, where music will be. Well, there'll be a lot of different things, and they start off with the first public use as the Kusama-verse because they got funding from the Kusama treasury. And so it's really hard to say, okay, Metaverse is going to be here in 2 years, or it's going to be there in 5 years, but we see that Metaverse can be a sort of manifestation of decentralization and working decentralized in a way that's accessible for non-developers. And so I can't say which precisely business case is going to be the first one really to take off, and then also have legs that'll still be there in 5 years and beyond as something viable. I'm not trying to FUD anything like real estate or let's say Metaverse land sales because there's probably a lot of people here trying to get people to buy the land in various new metaverses, and I don't think that's going to be it. But I think it'll be something like a place where you can go and hang out in a virtual world, and the graphics are getting better, the user interface is getting better, and it will continue to get better. And if you can work there and hang out there and virtually be in a place which is making you want to be there more, then that's going to be very valuable.
So it's a disruption to everyday's life.
Yeah, but we're already disrupted. I mean, how many people are in their phones right now? So we're here in a moment, they're in their phones. It's normal. That's what we do. And that can be a way into the metaverse. Everybody does. I mean, I sit down there and I'm checking what's happening on Twitter. The market is crashing right now. Like, fuck. I mean, it's really bad. And we're here up on a stage talking about the future. And for the way we're set up, it's actually okay. because we went through the first winter and we just put our heads down with the teams and we helped them build and we went through it. And we had confidence because we knew then and we know now that we're working with strong teams that are going to fight through difficult times and still build something that people are going to want. And not 100% of the time it's going to work out. That's how life is, that's how markets are, and that's how it is with super early stage. But that's the only way to be really successful in a way that's sustainable. And I know you're on that path. And this is just, it's very early days, so it's okay. You know, if the market goes down, it goes down. You know, if it's harder to raise.
If it goes up, it goes up.
But eventually it will, because it's technology, and technology is what drives everything forward.
I agree with you. I mean, I appreciate the vision. I mean, we sometimes talk metaverse internally. I mean, the only thing that we have two principles. Number one is that for building a metaverse, so you're going to need all the assets of real life somehow translated into web3, and it's a lot of NFTs that are going to need to come together. And definitely you need a bit of sound in the metaverse, because in the few places where I've been, there's no sound. It's not as fun as a real life party. Then I'm thinking that people are going to really, I mean, pull these pieces together and you're going to have 1,000 versions. It's very difficult to imagine how is it going to be. So we sit back and we say, we give you the audio, and then let's see what other teams are going to be able to build. Paul, do you want to add something? I mean, both of you?
Yeah, I just wanted to support what Mark was saying about, if I may be so bold as to summarize what you were saying about the metaverse, I would just say, nobody really knows. And I think that's really, really important, because I think it's just the truth about technology, art, and business. And it reminds me of the beginning of commercial synthesizers, outboard synthesizers like Prophet 5s and Oberheims. And it sounds crazy now, but the claim was, it's just like real brass. It's just like a real violin. And the claim was, so you can save money, you don't have to hire a real violinist, you can do it on your keyboard, and it sounds just like a real violinist. Of course, electronic music became about inventing new sounds that are not in a classical orchestra, that you can't hear on classical instruments. And then the internet came along, and virtual synthesizers, plugins, manipulation of music. And when Oberheim was releasing its first brass synthesizer, the claim was it's just like a brass band or trumpets or trombones in an orchestra. And look where it went. And so I think that's the message.
Joe?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, as Paul said, what we just want to do is to make the same thing but like faster and cheaper. And so that's what technology allows us to do. And same thing for music. When we do new songs, we just want to have like all the players, like the instrument players, but we want to do it ourselves with the BST. So I think that's what technology brings. And the disruption is going to come. We can avoid that. We can choose. We just need to adapt.
And to design and create. So
yeah, of course. We have to be
like explorer. Like that's what I like about being in tech. That you are exploring. Well, it's like when you got on a
yeah, you have that advantage. You are ahead of everyone else, and so you can do the things before the others.
Super. So I think fantastic, right on time. Like beautiful. And never happened in my life. I think
you couldn't wait.
I like fantastic. No, I can stay here another 50 minutes, but I'm sure that you have a lot of people that want to come on stage.
Want the encore.
So I'm gonna thank all my guests. Thanks, Mark, Charlie, Paul, Joe. Really appreciate you coming here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the support.
Thank you.
One very small announcement. We are sponsoring tonight opening party. So Merck and Cremont together with Emma, they're going to play from 8 p.m. They're going to launch an airdrop as well. Together we're going to launch an airdrop during the live DJ set. So please come down to the party and join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And enjoy the conference.